Hi, welcome back to our kindergarten through eighth grade general music PLC for the Georgia Department of Education. My name is Ariel Robbins and I'm our PLC lead for the year. This is topic 4, and in topic 4 we'll be talking about music on a budget and how to use manipulatives in your general music classroom. In this first segment, we'll be talking about tips, tricks, and starter ideas for manipulatives. So let's start by talking about what are manipulatives. This term was first created by math educators. Think your base 10 units, think your tangrams, things like that. And so they're physical items that students can actually touch and hold and manipulate in some way to help represent a more abstract idea. So that's where you get like these. This is a picture of cubic centimeters. So students can actually like stack them and create cubes and see how big a centimeter is. So we use manipulatives all the time in music, and I'm actually really looking forward to hearing what kind of manipulatives you use in your classroom, because I'm always looking forward to expanding my practice, because in my head, this is one of the best ways to get students actively engaging with the material, and it's a great way to get students to show what they know, sometimes without even them realizing that they're being assessed. It provides them with hands-on experiences, and a lot of them can be purchased, but a lot of them can be created your own, which is why I thought this was a good tie-in with music on a budget. I'm going to show you in these next 3 segments some that I have purchased, but a lot that I've made, and show you that it's not too difficult to create your own manipulatives, and a little bit goes a really long way in music instruction. So here are some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. And if you have any that you're willing to share, I'd love to hear them. So one thing that I realized is that a lot of manipulatives can be multitaskers or kind of pull double duty. So an example that I'll give a little bit later is a pipe cleaner. A pipe cleaner can be used for a lot of different things in music. You can use it to, the kids can bend it to try to make different note shapes. They can bend it to create different melodic contours. They can create a combination of different colors to represent form. So think of things that you can use more than once. And this is especially true if you're going to be purchasing a manipulative, because you want to get the most bang for your buck. A lot of the times I will store my manipulatives in plastic bags, especially if I'm making a bunch of them to hand out to students in groups. And one trick that I learned along the way, and I wish I remember when I learned this, was to cut the bottom corner off the bag and purposefully create a hole in the bag. So that way when students close the bag, they don't have to waste time kind of trying to push the air out. I've got a bunch of really particular students at my school, and I noticed that they were spending a lot of time doing that. And when I started cutting those holes in the bag, that eliminated that problem immediately. I've also learned the hard way that if you are going to have students write something on a piece of laminated paper, so not a dry erase board, but like maybe a piece of paper with a heart on it, like my heart chart, you might be able to tell from the camera that this side was drawn on using dry erase marker, which was my mistake. That's what I gave the students. And I learned the hard way that vis-a-vis for laminated paper is the way to go, because it comes off much easier. These are created with printer paper and construction paper, which is a little more sturdier. If you're going to do something that you know that you're going to be using year after year, that I would recommend investing in maybe some cardstock and then laminating it. That will make that manipulative kind of stretch out, have a longer shelf life. But if you're going to create something that's specific to one lesson, maybe you're doing a lesson on rhythm and animals, and you are only using it for one song and you're not even sure if you're going to need that song next year, that's when I would say maybe it's okay to print out one set for that year, use it for a week, and by the end of the week, into the garbage they go, or into the recycling they go. So that's something to consider too, to laminate or not to laminate, and how much multitasking do you think you'll get out of it, and how long do you think you can make it last depending on the materials you have to make it. One way to make materials last longer, if you have a super limited budget and don't have enough paper to make different copies of worksheets or something like that, you can always get a set of page protectors, and then again, vis-a-vis or dry erase markers, although I think vis-a-vis would work a little better, and have students fill out their answers that way. You can grade that and then erase it, and they can use the same piece of paper for the next class or the next student come in. I would also recommend trying to find some sort of uniform box to store your manipulatives in. I really like these white boxes, the clear boxes with the white lids. And the reason I like them is they're stackable and I know what the dimensions are, so I can think ahead when I'm creating them about how I'm going to be storing them. So now I'm going to move into showing you some general manipulative ideas to get your brain going. And then segment 2 is going to be all about manipulatives specifically for rhythm. And segment 3 is going to be manipulatives all about pitch and melody. All right, so welcome to an overhead view of my desk. I'm going to be showing you a couple of sample manipulative ideas to get you started. And like I said, in topic 2, we'll talk specifically about rhythm manipulatives. And then in topic 3, we'll talk specifically about pitch and melody manipulatives. So one of those multitaskers that you can consider using is clothespins, and you can print out various papers with separate answers, and this just makes it a fun way for students to basically answer multiple choice. So I printed out these cards for my kindergartner and first graders, and I would play voice samples for whisper, talk, shout, and sing. You could do something very similar with instrument families where they take the clothespin and they clip it to the right answer. And kids in my neighborhood are not used to seeing clothespins these days. And so it's like a big novelty for them. And they really like being able to clip it in different ways to the paper. So that's a really super manipulative, easy manipulative to get the kids started and to get them easy. And you can use it for lots of different purposes and concepts. A more specific idea is something like using green paper plates and then some cotton balls for your tortoise and the hare lesson. And so I passed these out to my kids, and we did this for a movement activity. And they had to put the plates on their backs to pretend to be like turtles, and they held the cotton balls on their bottoms to pretend to be like bunny tails, which was hilarious to watch. And so that made it one step more than just them moving slowly and moving quickly, them getting to pretend to be like tortoises and pretending to be like hares. Made it really fun for them. Another thing you can do is you can print out letters for form. And I have these cards, again, with a bag with a corner cut off so I don't have to worry about air being pressed out. And they can use these to respond to whatever form they're listening to or to create something original. But it doesn't have to be letters. Almost anything can really be a form manipulative with same and different. So I was talking in segment 3, I'll talk about different manipulatives you can use for vocalises to show up and down. But here are some spiders that I got. They're plastic, don't worry. And I have a ton of them. So maybe I hand out a handful of those and then a handful of pom-poms, and so this can be like rondo form, for example, where all the spiders are the same, but then we have different colored pom-poms in between, something like that. So they get different objects and they have to manipulate them to demonstrate form. Almost anything could be a form manipulative, and that makes it way more fun for them to listen to the music and try to figure out how to represent the changes and differences in the music. I also have a bunch of cards. Printed out with pictures of instruments on them that can be another multitasker. So in this particular baggie, I've got 16 instrument labels and then different pictures. And I've done a matching game with this where students, it's almost like a memory matching where they have to turn them over and they get to choose 2. And if they match, they get to keep the pair. But the pictures themselves can be multitaskers. We've used these to sort between pitched and unpitched. shake, scrape, and strike percussion and non-percussion, like if you have some pictures of ukuleles or recorders or other classroom instruments, and it doesn't even have to be classroom instruments, but you can use these types of manipulatives in different ways for students to kind of sort and categorize in different ways to show what they know. So basically, think about different objects that you can print out or create to hand to your students for them to show what they know, and you've got a manipulative. And it is a little bit of work up front for you, but it makes the learning really easy for the kids to demonstrate. So this is the end of segment 1, Music on a Budget.